I a conspiracy theorist now? Are we conspiracy theorists now? Sunrise Lounge. This is season 3, The New Pioneers, episode 5, Misinformation. Now, I'll be honest with you, Sunrise Lounge, this one has been a difficult one to go for. And I've recorded multiple times and deleted a ton of content because I want to get this one right. And to that end, I script out my episodes. I write out my ideas, research notes, points that I want to hit, the structure of the episode. I even remind myself to ask people to sub and like right now. I mean, the biggest question that I want to answer for this specific episode is, what do I want to say? How do I want to say it? Now, I do a ton of research for all my episodes, mostly because I'm addicted to learning. There's so much information out there that I have to ask myself, how do I talk about misinformation, trust, skepticism from the perspective and philosophy of the Sunrise Lounge? I mean, what even is that? See, that's the primary problem. We live in a culture of misinformation. And when the concept of misinformation was made mainstream, and when the idea or the accusation of fake news was popularized, they created an existential destabilization, both mentally for individuals and collectively for our society. Now, I'm absolutely not a narrator or a more rugged, strapping version of Ron Burgundy. I don't just read everything exactly as it is on the teleprompter. So, how do we deal with misinformation? How do we trust the sources or know we can trust the sources that we do trust? I mean, in the same line of thinking as the infamous Friedrich Nietzsche, how do we not stop proving proven things? So, let's get to work. Wait, am I a conspiracy theorist now? Are we conspiracy theorists now? Oh, by the way, you want to hit that bell icon down on YouTube. So how do we fight misinformation? How do we identify misinformation? How do we seek out sources that we can trust? How do we evaluate if we can trust them? That's what we're going to talk about today, so stick around. Now, if you enjoy the content so far and you learn something, hit the like button. If you absolutely hate everything I have to say and totally disagree, let me know down in the comments section. Either way, it helps the channel grow and it sharpens up my mental awareness and contextual awareness. So it's a win-win. Everybody wins. Now, what I have in mind are specifically three strategies for how to seek out information that you can trust or how to determine if something may be misinformation or not. Now, here's where it gets really difficult. Real true liberty requires a level of responsibility that can be very uncomfortable and very dangerous. But what this isn't meant to do is to scare you or to make you lose sleep at night. It's meant to encourage you and make you feel more confident. And that's about as close as it's going to get to hand-holding in the Sunrise Lounge. You know, our nation was built on mistrust and hope, but mistrust in the nature of men and hope in the ideal man if properly guided. What's really a foundational responsibility of American citizens is to be natural skeptics. Now, if you dial back the history books way back to ancient Greece, where modern Western philosophy had its beginning, you'll discover a group of dudes that came up with the philosophy of skepticism, which was the exact opposite or in direct contrast to and response to the philosophy of dogmatism. Now, if you take those terms in modern context today, they have a lot of negative connotations. But when they were originated in ancient Greek thought, they didn't have those negative modern connotations. In fact, these two philosophies were extremely useful. I mean, by the time Greek thought had fully developed, you had Stoics, Epicureans, Cynics, skeptics, dogmatists. Now, if you didn't come here for a history lesson, let's just look it up. Look at that. The original Greek meaning of skeptikos was an inquirer, someone who's unsatisfied and still looking for truth. Now, it was in response to Stoicism, Cynicism, and the academics, where specifically Stoicism was about living a virtuous life and discovering virtue ethics, where skepticism, essentially said, do we really know what's virtuous? Sounds like modern times, doesn't it? Wait, hold up. Now, we do want to live a virtuous life. I mean, part of the root of the philosophy of the Sunrise Lounge and the New Pioneers is the philosophy of Stoicism. But the baseline theory and model of skepticism is extremely essential and part of what this nation, the United States, was built upon by the framers and the founders. So a big portion of the solutions that we're going to talk about today are the strategies that we're going to talk about that help you combat and identify misinformation or fake news are based in skeptical ideas of being an inquirer or not being satisfied. In other words, it's a strategy that the framers intended and that we should still use to keep proven things and keep things in checks and balances instead of assuming that one side is always evil and the other side is always right. I mean, take Federalist number one. For example, Alexander Hamilton calls out the perverted ambition of men who all hope to aggrandize themselves by the confusions of their country. No, wait. He goes on to say, a further reason for caution must be drawn from the reflection that we are not always sure that those who advocate the truth are actuated by purer principles than their antagonists. In fact, spreading misinformation just may not be the actual desired end result. It may be the strategy to keep our citizenship in confusion. Yo, I got to level with you, Sunrise Lounge. When I read the Federalist Papers, number one quite literally is underlined almost from the first word to the last word. Now, I know you want to support things in a tangible way instead of just throwing money at stuff. So if you want to donate to an actual item that will help me continue to create awesome content instead of having to move this one camera around like literally constantly between shots and all sorts of other great stuff, you can donate to specific items on our Throne Creator playlist, wish list, Throne Creator wish list. It's not a playlist. Confirmed, not a playlist. But then you can also go on Patreon and become a free member, a $5 tier per month member with some cool benefits, and then some added benefits and cool merch items if you become a $10 per month member on Patreon. It helps you support in a tangible way instead of just throwing money at stuff. So go do it. I know what you want. I know you want to contribute tangibly. So get out there and do it. Just go do it. Oh, Make a note there. Yeah, go. If you want to support financially, it is always extremely appreciated and never required. Great Sunrise Launch content is always going to be available for free. No paywalls. No paywalls. No paywalls. No paywalls. Now listen, we have to pay close attention. We have to understand that any source of media, classic mainstream, digital platforms, written platforms, and now, sadly, many academic sources, which were originally meant to be the antithesis to dogmatism and powerful control and tyranny, are not to be trusted. But also consider this. George Orwell's book, 1984, says that the best books are the ones that tell us things we know already. Oh, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of discussion among literary groups about what George actually meant by that quote, but I think given the context of the book 1984 and the general central themes, it's reasonable to assume two things. Number one, a central theme of 1984 is the search for truth and how to determine if things are true or aren't. And number two, he either meant this as a commentary on humans staying comfortable and staying within their prescribed truth, no matter who's controlling that truth, or he's saying, no, literally the best books are the ones that help confirm truth you already knew is true in a world of ever-changing and daily changing history rewriting and truth rewriting. While we don't live in the world of George Orwell's 1984 just yet, a responsibility still lies squarely on our individual soldiers to determine and seek true sources and constantly evaluate those sources to ensure that we are seeking truth. Responsibility it's fun. We like it. Thomas Jefferson said, I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences attending too much liberty than those attending too small a degree of it. But he also said the natural progress of things is for liberty to yield and for government to gain ground. So it goes back to the responsibility laid out in the ancient Greek philosophy of skepticism in the sense that we should be an inquirer. We should constantly be dissatisfied in our search for truth and our search for verifying our sources. So what are the strategies and mindsets that the Sunrise Lounge uses, that a new pioneer uses to help determine true sources and constantly be in that state of skepticos or being an inquirer, being dissatisfied? Number one, veracity. According to Oxford Languages, it means accuracy, or more importantly, habitual truthfulness. It ties directly in to strategy number two. So number two, vested interest. Look at that source and see what their alignment is, what they stand to gain from the information that they are sharing. Look at if they're a stakeholder or a shareholder. What is the source's vested interest in the individual information that they are sharing right then? Oh, and don't forget context, trends, and patterns. And number three, and this is the controversial one, adherence to Christian values. So it's very important to understand what sort of Christian values you're actually basing that filter on. You have to understand the context of the gospel of grace and the finished work on the cross. We're not just talking about old school Catholicism or Puritanism or any other number of church traditions or Christian traditions. We're talking about real, legitimate, grace-based, true Christian values. So be careful what sources you trust. Never fully be satisfied with the truth that any source is sharing, even the ones you're comfortable with, and even the ones that seem to be championing or standing on the side of your viewpoint of things. I had a really interesting experience that really sparked all of this, and it happened on social media on the Sunrise Lounge X account. So, and if you're not following the X account, you really should be, because you're missing out on a lot of really good content. I was engaging with a certain post on X about a celebrity who said that they were going to leave the country if were to earn the presidency. My initial reaction, because I've seen this so many times from celebrities in particular, was to actually tweet back. It's funny that these celebrities or people in these high levels of status societally think we actually care about their opinions. But then I saw a post by a celebrity who was saying all the things I wanted to hear. And I found myself glued in attention to what this celebrity was saying and internally thinking, yes, this is exactly what I think and exactly what I believe and exactly what I want to hear. Now, while that reaction is not necessarily a problem, it did kind of open my eyes because both these experiences happened really close together on my timeline. Truth is, we actually do care. When I started hearing information that I already knew or that I believed in from a mainstream source, I felt a great sense of pride and super happy that one of them was saying that information. I mean, that Nietzsche dude did say that if any feelings of pleasure come when discussing what is truth, should be a sign for suspicion. That Nietzsche, yeah, I'm probably going to get in trouble for that one. So, a new pioneer, a member of the Sunrise Lounge, is a natural skeptic. Our drive and our goal is to build a nation of natural skeptics and conscientious rebels. The legendary Edward R. Murrow said that a nation of sheep will beget a government of wolves. I mean, look at the things that they have told us over the years. Well, they told you that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They told you COVID-19 would die in the summer heat, and they told you that the vaccine would work. And they told you that the food pyramid was a guide to health. They told you former President Trump is a threat to democracy, then instated a bureaucratically selected, ordained, unelected candidate to run against him. They told you the Patriot Act was only intended to fight terrorism, and it wasn't infringing on your Fourth Amendment rights. They tell you gun safety laws are common sense, and that your Second Amendment rights to bear arms are not absolute. Yes, it's an airsoft gun. Even if your Second Amendment rights aren't absolute, they tell you that that rhetoric doesn't apply to the other rights in the Bill of Rights. They told us that they'd arrest Christians during the lockdown in the pandemic of 2020 that worshiped in congregational gatherings, but that it wasn't a violation of your First Amendment. They told us the Russians stole the 2016 election and cried treason, then once again cried treason and jailed U.S. citizens that claimed that the 2020 election was stolen. They tell us carrots are good for our eyes, video games are bad for our health. They told us that love is love, everyone is welcome, diversity is strength, inclusion is righteous, and equity is king. They told us that genetically male cosmetic women are women, and that men can get pregnant, And pedophilia is just minor attraction and not necessarily sexual. They told us Islam is peaceful and Catholicism is Christianity. They told us. Who is they? Be responsible and have liberty. Think about your sources. Engage in skepticos. Be an inquirer. Never be satisfied. Always be seeking the veracity of truth and verifying your sources and the information they're sharing. Be a conscientious rebel. Be a well-educated problem. Be a natural skeptic. That's who we are here in the Sunrise Lounge, and that is the definition of a new pioneer. And that's it. Crisp salutes and firm handshakes from the captain. We are done and dusted, Sunrise Lounge. Thank you all for listening this far. If you absolutely loved what you heard, hit the like button. And if you absolutely hated what you heard, you made it this far, so thanks, I guess. Next episode, thinking about old school ancient Greek philosophy, we're going to be talking about cynicism, how to be a real cynic, and how that ties into being a new pioneer. Can't wait for that one. Lots of other great content coming out. The New Perspectives content design is coming out very, very soon. Get down in the comment section, go down and see all the links. Follow our Spotify custom playlist. Follow us on X, Instagram. All the links to connect down in the description. Dad advice: wake up early and do hard things. And that's it. We are done and dusted, Sunrise Lounge. Always remember, pull up your hood. Stay smart. I'll see you on the next one.